Thanks. So you can go to the first level. So the reason for this talk is that we had in our team, we read the book by this guy. It's called Clean Code. Probably most of you have heard of that already. And we had lots of discussions, what is clean code and how can we use it in our work and make our code clean, and is it too much work to get clean code, or where do we start? And we had lots of examples, and then there was one example, and some months ago Andre von Detzen sent around a link to a video which has a video by him which shows some refactoring and some clean code, and then we had an argument, is this clean for us or not? And I wrote the blog for our IT blog, there will be a link at the end, showing that actually what he does in the book can still be done better. And then we had a discussion, okay, maybe everybody should know this, and then we can think about maybe it helps us to make cleaner code. Next slide. And actually there's lots of patterns in the book and patterns that you know from your work and experience. And there's one pattern about avoiding side effects, and this is the one I want to stress because it helps in this example to make the code more clean. Next slide. And this is a code that's actually from fitness, from a real open source tool, and well, the author of the book actually wrote it, and then later he got back and said, oh, I think this is too messy, I can make it more clean. And the strategy he uses to clean up his code, he says, oh, this method is too long, I will just grab a bit out of the method and I will extract it as a new method, and then I get smaller methods and they will have a name and it will be good. And what he does is he just selects some code, like the if statement, and then he does it in his IDEA, but you can do the same in Eclipse. You could just Alt-Shift-M, for example, extract method, and then you get the method, and it would all work fine, but this code has a problem because it has so many variables at the top which are used in a loop, and then Eclipse will say, oh, Alt-Shift-M extract method not possible. You have to deal with the variables first. And then I looked at the code, and well, what he does, he extracts the variable out of the method into the class, and then there are class variables fields, and then the extract method works, and he makes 3 or 4 small methods, and they all use those variables which are up in the class, and then the result of the code is that you have many methods which share variables, and then it's even almost more messy than that. And if you look at this code, you can actually reduce it into several methods without having the variables which link together all the methods. And the trick is, next slide. Yeah, so this is my face, like not my face, but the same. I look because you have so many methods, and to understand one method, you have to read all the other methods because they share the variables. And so what we do is, we realize the method that we had before, it actually does something with some child nodes, and then also it returns a value. And this is the core problem of the code, which in the book is not changed. The core problem is you do something here, and then you return something there. And actually, if you just copy the method and make one instance to return the result, this is the second one. And the other you can later change to just act on objects and not return anything. And then you get the separation between the query, which just gives you some information, and then the command is the other one, which actually acts on objects. And this is just the code from before, but you clean out everything that changes stuff. You just want to compute this result. And then once you have it, you can read this code. It's really simple now. It could be a one-liner in some other language because you have this typical loop pattern. And you see, oh, the only thing I check here is I go through this child tags field. It's a list, and I check if there's anything that is instead of the tag. So they're all elements, and then some of them are tags. And the only thing I want to know is one of them a tag. So do my children contain a tag? That's the name of the method, and now I have a really nice getter method which just returns a boolean. It doesn't do anything else. It's very easy to call and easy to understand with one look. And we have this one concern factored out of the code. And this gives us the opportunity to look at the rest of the code. And there are lots of small refactorings we can do with this. It's all explained in my blog entry. And then, next slide. Oh, yes. Interlude. So if we split up the method, then instead of calling the old method this is the client code where the method was called before. So the old one, you call it, and it does something to the buffer, and it also returns this Boolean variable up there. And now, just by splitting up the one method in two, we already get an advantage because we can first act on the buffer with the first method, and then the second method we can just use in the if expression because it directly returns the value. This has no side effect anymore. We can use it in one if expression, we could use it in another place. We don't need to save the result in a variable. We directly ask, do my children contain tag, and I can combine it with some other condition and use it. Okay, now the next. And this is the command part of the method. Also refactored, you see instead of 3 variables, I only have 1 local variable in the method, the rest can all go away, and you can refactor it away because we have separated the concerns. Okay, next. So for details you can read, but if you only want to remember one thing, then the advice from me is if you have a method that returns some result and does some action, try to make it in separate methods. If you act on objects, then just act, and if you want to query or compute something and just return something, then just return something. And if you disagree, then you can talk to me later.
Then grab the microphone. Thank you. Any questions so far?
You can also talk to me in private.